Okay, in this video we want to talk about the CapWeight tool. This tool allows residential appraisers to get a better understanding of the income approach, and it also allows them to confirm their value estimates from their other approaches that they've used. So you begin with a screen, and you start with, first of all, you've got three sliders here, one on the site, the building, and the weighting. We'll see how those work a little later on, but they help us to kind of do a quick analysis of our subject. So we begin with the rent and the expenses, and then the tool will calculate the NOI, or the net operating income. We'll then see the annualized financial data and their percentage. We note here that 7,200 is the net operating income. It will also display that down lower in the table. We'll see how that works for us here a bit later. But we also will have the percentages broken down for us. That's important a lot of times when we look at property, looking at that expense ratio or the NOI ratio as a percentage of the rent is a measurement of comparability that can be useful. So once we have that, let's assume that the site is getting a 3% cap rate and the building's getting a 10% rate, and we've weighted each component equally at 50%, so we've got 100% overall. So to calculate the weighted rate, it's simply the cap rate times the weighting. So in this case, it'd be 3% times 50%, or it would give us 1.5% for that weighted rate, and the building would be 10% at 50% or 5%. We add those two together to get the overall rate, which is 6.5%. If we take that 7,200 in NOI and divide it by 6.5%, that's what our indication would be under this approach, about $110,000, $111,000. So now to allocate the values, we know that the overall value is worth 110, and we've already given the site and building each half of the weight. So their respective values would be about $55,000 apiece. Now, in order to determine what portion of the NOI, that 7,200 NOI, goes to each element of the property, we just take the 55,384 and multiply it times 3% for the site, and that's what the site is generating in NOI. And we do the same thing with the building, 55,384 times 10%, and that is the building NOI. We add those two together and confirm it equals 7,200. Another feature is we can actually calculate the rates per size on the components. So say that the site in this example is 20,000 square feet. That's giving us a rate of $277 a foot. The building at 1,800 square feet would give us a rate of $30.77. We could use that to compare to our cost approach, both our site value on the cost approach as well as the depreciated value for the improvements. If we just plug in the improved rate at 1,800 on the overall value, it would tell us the overall value is generating about $61.54 in a rate per square foot of improvement. Then it will also display the rounded indication. All right, so now let's go back and look at our sliders for a minute. Let's assume that we've kind of changed our scenario here. And so now we're getting a 5% cap rate on the site, and we've given more weighting to the building than the site. We've changed that a bit. Nothing else has changed. The NOI is the same. So now what we note is our weighted rate on the site is now 1%. 5% times 20% would be 1%. The building's at 8%. So our overall, we add those two together, it gives us a 9% overall rate. Once we have that, we take the 7,200, divide by 9%, and our indicated value is 80,000. We allocate those values back to the site and the building. So 80,000, 20% of 80. Remember, the site value at 20% of the overall value would mean the site's valued around 16,000, which would give the building a value of 64,000. The NOI allocation to each of those, 16,000 on the site times 5% would be 800. 64,000 times 10% would be 6,400. Adding those two together, we've confirmed that 7,200 is our NOI. The sizes, we note here that the rates per size have changed because the values have changed, and our overall is dropped to 44. And we also see the rounded indication. Like the other tools, we can save this analysis to open it up later. The advantage of the CapWeight tool is that you can quickly and easily see the values of the site and the building under the income approach, and confirm support for your other indications that you've derived. Thank you very much for watching this video.